Okay, today I'm going to discuss my leadership analysis presentation, which is the portfolio project for Org 515 option number 2. So I'm going to compare Malala Yousafzai with Narendra Modi. So Malala was shot by the Taliban in 2012. She's an education activist, and she is the youngest Peace Prize laureate. That's per the Malala Fund 2020. So she actually started the Malala Fund 2020, which is Strock 2020. She works globally, and then really the industry she is in is a nonprofit education activism industry. And then she is at the executive leader level of that organization. So then in comparison, we have Narendra Modi, and he is the Prime Minister of India. He's in his second term right now. He has led the shift in government to be more inclusive, development-oriented, and corruption-free. That's all per the Prime Minister's office, no date given. So he obviously works for the country of India. He works in India, but then also globally. And then in the public government industry, and he is at the executive level as the Prime Minister. So when comparing the cultures between these two leaders, both work globally. Modi is a little more focused in India, obviously, since he's a prime minister. However, both really interact and work globally. So then power techniques. So every leader utilizes different kinds of power based upon maybe who they're trying to influence or what potential tools they have to use. Malala uses a lot of sharing her experiences, sharing her passion, and then advocating for those who can't advocate for themselves. That's really her main mission statement. That's her main goal. So that is how she uses her power, and that's the power she uses. That's all per the Malala Fund 2020. Modi uses his experience in government. He uses social media to show his responses to social crises, which is from Sinha 2017. This is really unique to Modi because he's the first elected official in India to really start doing this and change the way that the politics game was played in India. So he's also been implementing radical change in India to better the lives of the citizens. So that was his main platform. It's very different from the past. Again, that's Prime Minister's office, no date given. So subordinate relationships. So when you look at how Malala and Modi foster their subordinate relationships, for Malala, followers respect her. She shares her story because it is the story of many young women and young girls around the world, unfortunately. And she has given the platform. She's created this platform for herself to be able to share her story. So then she's also used her passion to influence her followers. So I know for me personally, I was very, very influenced by her when I was in high school, and I had just read her book, and it really opened my eyes and showed me that I was very, very fortunate to be a young woman in high school. So we're going to compare that to Modi. So his subordinates absolutely respect him. He has a proven track record. And then he, again, utilizes social media to influence followers and connect with followers. So this is so, so important because for him, his subordinates really, once you get beyond the scope of the government, you're looking at the citizens of India. And so his followers, really, he has to find a way to connect with them, and social media was the easiest way and the most accessible way. So then he holds an autocratic position of power due to the structure of the Indian government. So that is another just factor in his subordinate relationships if you're looking solely within the structure of the government specifically. So then the use of influence. So when they're trying to change others' behaviors. So Malala really, she speaks up for herself and she encourages others to do the same, which is part of the reason she was originally shot by the Taliban in 2012. She broke out of cultural norms and she broke out of the cultural norms put in place by the Taliban, and then she advocates for young girls everywhere. So that's from the Art of 2019. And then Modi, in comparison, so he has set deadlines, he's very detailed, and he makes detailed promises that inspire change among his followers and his employees. That's from AR 2015. So that is really where Modi continues to use his power and influence. So he set up this very active social media platform with a huge following. And then he puts out very, very detailed plans and promises. And so this helps to draw his followers in because they say, oh my gosh, I support that. Oh my gosh, I want that to happen to my country. I want my life to be better. And so he uses that to influence others to change their behaviors. So we're going to look at follower motivation. So Malala took a stand, stood up for her beliefs. So this motivated others to take action. She uses empathy to generate support for her cause. And that's from Martinez Garcia 2019. So she very much is appealing to the ethos side of the human condition. And then she uses her story to influence others to share their story and join a larger movement. That's from Sweeney and Gosville 2015. So again, Malala's big push here is that she is using her story. She wrote a book to tell her story. She toured the world to talk about her story, to talk about the trauma that she had gone through at the hands of the Taliban, and to advocate for young girls everywhere who can't travel the world, who don't have those resources, who, don't have those fortunate circumstances to be able to do those things. So then we're going to look in comparison to Modi. So in order to motivate his followers, he's setting really, really clear deadlines. He's creating change. So he's not really appealing to the ethos side of his followers, especially within the government. He's very much setting structured, clear deadlines, and this is what needs to happen, and this is how it needs to happen. So he models his behaviors, and he creates tasks that can be delegated to others. That's AR 2015. And then he uses, again, those social media platforms to generate support for his initiatives and motivate his followers. That's Rodriguez and Neiman 2017. So that is Modi's really big claim to fame and really his big game changer. That's what's going to make him unique, is his use of social media. And when he started using social media, it was so unprecedented in the Indian political culture. So now we're going to talk a little bit about self-destructive tendencies, because every leader does have them, and self-destructive tendencies tend to start to show and tend to start to shine through if maybe someone is overworked, if they're exhausted, overly emotional. Too much of a really good tendency can become a self-destructive tendency. So for example, if you are extremely high achieving and you really value success, that can become self-destructive when you go for more of a perfectionist sort of standpoint, to the point where it's unhealthy. So in the cases of Malala and Modi, so Malala, she has placed herself in danger. So she has stood up to the Taliban. She's been shot by the Taliban, and then she continued to stand up to the Taliban. So that is placing herself in danger, and because of her willingness to stand up for what she believes in and what she fights for. So that's potentially self-destructive. And then we have Modi, and he has the potential to be overly structured. So he's very good at creating these very, very detailed plans and being able to delegate. However, if that manifests into a self-destructive tendency, he becomes overly structured, and he might even struggle to delegate because he might want to control all of it. So he might need to control the details of the initiatives to the point of being unproductive, which, as a Prime Minister of India, he has many, many initiatives he's trying to handle. So even if he tries to handle all of the details of one initiative, he's not going to be productive. So now we're going to talk about leadership theory. So I believe Malala really embodies transformational leadership. She's leading a change. That is her whole entire platform. So she's inspiring girls across the globe to stand up for themselves and fight for what they believe in. And that's Sweeney and Gosville 2015. That is her main focus. That is her main goal. That is what she does. So she is transforming the way that young girls think about their education, that other people think about young girls' education, and really the access that young girls have to an education. So then when we look at Modi, so he is using a combination of autocratic and transformational leadership. And the reason I say that is because he is transforming the Indian government. He's transformed the way government works in the form of social media. He's transformed the policies, the focus, to much more of a citizens-based focus. But then his position also gives him that autocratic power, that autocratic leadership ability, because of how the government is structured. And that's the Prime Minister's office, no date given. So then, effectiveness in areas of improvement. So Malala, in my opinion, is a very effective leader in both her personal education and her activism. She has stood up for herself. She's created an entire movement, really, for girls who don't have access to education. And she's been able to capture the minds and the hearts of people across the globe that normally may not have even known about the struggles that young women like her faced. So ways she could improve, I would say continue to do what she's doing. She's now a young woman in college, so her priorities have obviously shifted a little bit, but just continue to do what she's doing. Keep sharing your passion and keep that passion alive, because there are still young girls that need that help and need that support. So then Modi, also, he is extremely successful and goal driven. I think that's clear in the fact that he's a second term as an India Prime Minister. He has started many initiatives. He's created these detailed plans on how to achieve those initiatives, and then he's able to measure his success and show progress. And that's because he has all these details. He's created where the line of success is, and then he's able to show his project and his initiative and say, hey, we didn't just meet the line of success, we passed the line of success. We were successful. Let's do something else. Let's do something more. And that's from the Prime Minister's office, no date given. So how he could improve. So just continue to evaluate the effectiveness and plans and strategies. So I think that's something that every leader can improve upon. Often we get so excited and we create a project and we finish this initiative and we deem it successful, but then we never go back and truly analyze why we were successful and where we maybe weren't so successful, even though overall the project was a success. So that's what I would recommend, is making sure you take time at the end of an initiative to really evaluate, number one, what aspects of the initiative were successful, were maybe unsuccessful, could have been more successful had they been done differently, but then also what strengths and skills of your team members were extremely valuable in maybe a certain circumstances, or maybe were areas of improvement that they need to focus on and they need to work to get better at. So that is all I have for those. These are my reference pages, and thank you so much for listening.